Tonight on SA Wine Weekly, we're here at the Hidden Sea in Coonawarra.
So I want to have a chat to you while we're still on the rosé. I want to have a chat to you about this goon bag.
Look at that.
Bring back the bag.
The classy goon sack. Looks beautiful.
Full circle.
Full circle.
This is made specifically for the Swedish market. They have a monopoly over in Sweden called Systembolaget.
A big market? A big wine market? Or
It
emerging?
is a big wine market. But over in those Scandinavian countries, bag in box, which we used to call cask wine here, is really common form of drinking wine. So we send the wine over there, and this is all packaged over in Europe and sold in the Swedish market.
Okay, so we're going to move on to
Wine number 2.
wine number 2. Chardonnay. Now,
Sauvignon Blanc.
Sauvignon Blanc.
all right.
Set you guys up with some
Sauvignon
Oh, I'll
Blanc.
take that, thank you.
Would you usually have that before a rosé?
You could. I tend not to, but I go from rosé to savvy myself.
Yeah.
But there's no right or wrong.
Richie, what would you do?
Again, personal preference.
I'd go Savvy first.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. And you like that one chilled as well, or do you like it just
Yes.
a little bit more room temperature? Or?
No, chilled.
Yep.
I think, again, very similar to the rosé, easy drinking, light, vibrant, more aromatics.
Didn't really look after me, did he?
So the fruit for this wine is sourced from Padua as a region.
Right,
You know where that is?
I do now.
So that's some of the first whites that we pick out of the Limestone Coast each year.
Yeah.
So interestingly, here we are in May. Sorry to cut you off, Steve.
No, that's all right. Wouldn't it?
This is our 2021 vintage wine, already bottled. There you go.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to say another, because we do get firsts on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they're not, sometimes we make it up. But this would have to be almost a Hidden Sea first, wouldn't it? A tasting on TV of the 2021.
2021?
Absolutely, it's a first, but it would probably be the first Sauvignon Blanc from the region that's bottled and marketed.
Even better.
Wow.
So, yeah, went down the bottling line last Monday.
Right. Just for us.
Just for you, yeah, we had
Just for you.
pre-production for
Thanks, mate.
just
That's
for
great.
yourselves.
Beautiful.
No wonder it's fresh. I was just about to say it was really fresh.
So yeah, part of the fruit for this blend is from Padua. So Padua Sauvignon Blanc is more tropical, riper fruit flavours, blended with some Mount Benson. So we've got a vineyard there where you can see the ocean from the vineyard. Sort of red, sandier soils, and also a Mount Gambier component, which later ripening, cooler nighttime temperatures, and more of a gives it the acidic backbone to the wine. So that length on the
Blend
palate.
for the balance.
So I'm interested
Bit of
about the
vibrancy.
maritime influence of Mount Benson on the Sav.
Yes.
How does that differ from the fruit that you're getting from?
So with the being so close to the ocean, in January, February, there's an upwelling from the Antarctic, and the nighttime temperatures, as a result of the ocean temperatures dropping, are a lot cooler. So on the coast, the flavours just take longer to develop. So you don't get the spikes. We do get some hot days on the coast, but unusual for the temperatures to get above sort of 30, 35. So the flavour development in fruit there takes longer for it to come through.
Completely different.
Whereas if from a more warmer inland region, the flavours can kick in a lot quicker.
Right. Making
So it's
your
got
mouth
that
water.
grassiness that comes from the Mount Benson and Mount Gambier components, but then it's also got a depth of flavour on the palate that's more your sort of Padua component. So when we're on the bench blending, we play around with the different percentages from each region.
Yeah.
And what may work in one region one year may not be what we commit to the following year. So
And this vintage,
yes.
exceptional.
Yeah, so the flavours came in really early. We didn't have a typical summer. We didn't get any spikes in the heat waves in January, which we can get.
Yeah.
So the flavours came in early, but the acids were really high. So the first parcel we picked out of Padua, I'll admit we went too early. I think we were keen to get into it, and once the juice was in tank, it was still quite tart. So we waited another week before we picked the remainder of the block, and that fruit is more of that tropical flavours that we're looking for.
Cool. And what do you think? What does the layman think?
I really like that that grassy
It's got grassy
nose.
notes and dryness to
and,
it.
and then with the tropical fruit, I just think it gives it a little bit of complexity. And Sauvignon Blanc's a pretty easy drinking sort of a wine, and that's the whole idea of it. But it's got some interest to it, and
It does. That's a
I
complex
think
flavour.
having that little bit of interest is what makes it unique.
Yeah.
So yeah, 11.5% alcohol. So those
Right.
flavours this year came in early, and you didn't need to wait for the fruit to get fully ripened before you're making those picking decisions. But
So, how do you rate this to other years?
yeah, I think it's as good as we've made. Again, each year we're trying to make it better and better. The
will it get-
natural acid
Will
really
it get a
helps.
little bit better? I'm not saying it's not good, but will it get a little bit better with a little bit more time in bottle, or
Yes, yeah. So this this is a week old effectively, this wine. So we won't look to put this to the market until it sort of settles down a little bit in bottle, but
which would be?
How long would you sit that down for? Yeah.
only like a couple of weeks before
Yeah.
we run shelf. But this is sort of being shipped as we speak, so this will be on shelf in the UK in a month.
Sainsbury have been a massive supporter of us over
Yeah.
there, and that's part of the reason why we've pushed to get this wine out early,
Yeah.
earlier than we probably would normally, but we're absolutely wrapped with the style and the result we've been able to get. But yeah, this is on its way to Sainsbury's, and the UK consumer has really, caught on to the whole environmental message, which is fantastic. We found the same thing up in the Nordic regions of Europe as well. So now we've just got to get the Aussies on board.
Oh, that's happening.
Yeah.
I'm going to do whatever I can to help you because I think
Yeah,
it's,
love it.
that is a cracking wine.
It is.
Yeah.
That flavour surprised me, and the whole mouth.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, isn't it? Like, just
This-
coats the whole mouth.
This region does Sauvignon Blanc so well.
Yeah.
I think the Limestone Coast is
No, it's
magnificent.
not that well known though, is it?
No.
Because it's known for your traditional varieties.
Yeah.
And speaking like I actually know what I'm talking about, but I've been here a week.
Yeah.
But the Sauv Blanc is actually incredible.
Yeah, well, I mean, the region's known for Cabernet, right? So you've got the Coonawarra Cabernet. Back in the day, it was the Claret, so the Shiraz Cabernet. I think this region does Shiraz amazingly well. But the whites, the Sauvignon Blanc, the Pinot Gris, or Pinot Grigio, whichever style you want to make, the Chardonnays, I think this region really lends itself well to white winemaking.
The colder climate obviously
Yeah,
helps.
Yeah.
helps out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar climate down here, especially when you get over to Mount Gambier, Mount Benson, to Marlborough, New Zealand. Very similar.
But we did have a very kind growing season, so there
Yeah.
wasn't any disease pressures. We didn't have any extreme heat. We managed to evade frost, which can be a concern in this region.
Hence the big
Right.
fans everywhere.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. So yeah, and like the fruit was balanced, and winemakers, this year we had time to pick it when the flavours were at their optimum.
Sounds like you actually had a pretty easy job this year.
It was, yeah. Last year it was a bit more challenging. Every year is different, and that's, I think, the thing about the wine industry is, at the end of the day, Mother Nature plays a big part, and
Yeah.
we're just
Yeah,
sort
exactly.
of
You just
skirting
have to
around
go
the
with
edges.
it.
Yeah.
You look like you're built for this dish.
What about Steve?
Right. So, what I've decided to do with this one, playing on the tropical flavours of the beautiful Sauv Blanc. It's got, for me, like on the palate, it was really interesting. Had a bit of citrus, and it was good to cut through things. But I wanted to play on that more that I guess citrus, lemon, lime, that kind of thing. So we've got some pork, and the pork's from Beachport, which is a little town in between Mount Gambier and Robe. It's a stunning town. If you ever get a chance, go there.
God's country.
Yeah, it is God's country indeed. I think that's what Beachport actually means in native tongue, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, what that
Maybe.
Japanese village.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, we've got some beautiful pork. So it's from Beachport Berkshires, and we've just got some loin. It's been cured in some citrus. So I've borrowed some lemons off the tree next door, my neighbours. Juiced them onto the pork, a little bit of salt. That's it.
So,
Done.
so
Wow.
you mean, when you say cured, you mean it's not cooked?
It's cured. So it's cooked in acid. Yep.
Mm.
So I've served it with a few little things. So we've got some sea spray, which is a little succulent, found along the coast there. So just over the dunes, you'll find a heap of stuff.
Beautiful. So that's just foraged locally.
Yeah, all local
Using
stuff.
what you need,
So you've got some sea spray on there as well. We've got some bower spinach, which is related to warrigal greens. So you've got some real textural elements there, salty textural elements going with the citrus. And then and then we've got some puffed rice on there just to give it a real crunch, and some nasturtium from my garden, and a little bit of rocket for a bit of kind of finish. So
Love
there you go.
nasturtium in a dish.
Hope it works
Yep.
well.
You know
Of
what,
course.
could you just explain that again? in layman's terms?
No worries.
Steve, why don't
Look
you
at the colour
serve
of
Jade
that.
first? And,
Look at that.
no, go for it, Steve. Yeah, take as much as you like, mate.
I'll leave you some.
Would you usually pair pork with Sam?
I'd probably be more Chardonnay, a little bit more richer.
Not saying Turkey did anything wrong.
No. And I think that,
It
again,
works so well.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's had the little trick of the citrus in there.
Yeah.
To
And the
really
softness of the
complement.
pork almost, the dryness almost and the mouthfeel of that sort of toned it down because it was so soft. It sort of like softened the whole palate for the wine. So I quite like that.
Yeah, I think not too many people would think of finding the citrus in the Sauvignon Blanc and then curing pork with citrus.
Is that
And
it?
that's your food and wine pairing. That's pretty cool.
And the succulent goes so well.
The succulent.
It does.
I like the wild rice.
But yeah, no, they're certainly well matched.
Beautiful.
If it was for me, I'd be thinking more your Chardonnay with a little bit more texture, but I think the acid in the Sauvignon Blanc complements the cured pork, for sure.
Right, so we're having a dinner party at your house
Yes.
tomorrow, I know. What would you be pairing with it?
I'd go to the beach and I'd crayfish.
You guys are pretty spoiled, aren't you?
So Beachport Road, Southern Ocean, summertime, sitting on the deck, drinking Sauv Blanc and eating crayfish. China doesn't want it, so it doesn't get much better at the moment.
Our crayfishermen could do us some help at the moment.
Could they? I could help them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the new trade embargoes in China,
Yeah.
a bit like what's happening with the wine, obviously
Right.
the crayfish aren't going in either. So
It's
more
pretty
crayfish
good.
would be
Right,
better.
exporters are just happy.
Horrible for them.
Yeah.
Great for us.
Great for us.
Yeah.
We've got a massive supporter who watches our show, and he'll be loving your show. He's used to, I don't know if you know Adelaide that well, but Ocean Graphics is quite a massive surf store back in the day. There was only a very few around back in the day.
Yeah.
It's the oldest building in Port Nalunga, and Mark used to own it.
Yeah, right.
And he moved over to Coffin Bay, and he's crayfish, fishing. He's retired now. The skip's retired. And he dropped in the other day. Haven't seen him for 15 years. Messaged me, "What are you doing?" Dropped in, gave me a crayfish. And just as he did it, we were drawing prizes for the winners of one of the other shows, and he was one of the winners. And it wasn't rigged like most draws are. He actually,
Pray for a wine? Nice.
yeah, well, I actually gave him more out of my
bribed you.
personal stash because I went, well, you gave me crayfish, I want you to take this Fiano with you because I've
Yeah, nice.
got this real love for Fiano all of a sudden.
Yes.
You're going through a Fiano phase, aren't you?
Huh?
Fiano phase at the moment.
I had it for breakfast. Oh, it was the last show on a Riverland trip. We'd done 7 shows in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And we'd stayed up with the Greeks until 1 o'clock in the morning drinking his museum stuff. Wouldn't let us go. And 9 o'clock I was at the wine centre for breakfast Fiano.
Looks like you need some more, Nathan.
He always needs a top up.
Yeah, you did short pouring.
Yeah, didn't
That's
he?
it.
You did.
Just
Yeah. But it's funny, because even my old man, who, he's in his 70s now, he's a Sauvignon Blanc drinker. It's amazing. I would never have thought
Likes the Sauv.
that that's the way to go. And Mum probably more prefers Chardonnay, but Dad really loves Sauvignon Blanc, which my dad,
Both white fans.
just your quintessential country man, grew up drinking beer, and now they're enjoying Sauvignon Blanc.
You're a real fan of the 70s as well, aren't you?
I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love an easy drink like that.
usually,
I really do.
I don't like it, to be honest. It's not my cup of tea.
no.
That's because I was such a novice. But I'm actually, white wine's really growing on me.
Yeah.
And I'm really starting, a bit like your dad probably.
You're refining the palate there, Nathan.
Our wines, we're so lucky.
Oh, amazing.
And the quality of wine we've got is just amazing.
Yeah, it's next level these days.
This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see this flying off the shelf.
I hope so.
Hopefully.
We're flying it in, so hopefully it flies off.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
And a little comment there will help it fly off the shelves too.
Yeah,
So if you want to
what-
grab a bottle.
What sort of comments should they come up with? Off the top of your head, what?
I'd say something to do with more maritime. So maritime fact. Something to do
A
with
useless
the
but
ocean. See,
interesting.
a useless but
Yeah.
interesting fact.
Maritime
Something
facts.
maritime based.